Okay, so today we're going to go through the different houses, but what we're going to start with is those people who are still learning to run the chart. I'm going to explain to you where to get a free chart and to run your own chart. So last week we did the 12 apostles, which are the different seasonal depictions throughout the wheel of the year, 360 degrees in the wheel. And each of the signs has to be exactly 30 degrees to get the geometries correct. So the way that you do that, there's a free site called astro.com, and I have so many thousands of charts there, and you can get 100 charts free. So you can do 100 charts for free. Astro.com. You go to free horoscopes. So listen how you do it. You go to free horoscopes, and then you go to the extended chart selection. And then from the extended chart selection, you can at first use the web style default. For the web style default will get you like the degree mark, like 3 degrees, 46 minutes, or whatever your degree mark is. So the web style default will get you that. But in terms of the house system, in order to do the ancient astrology correctly, you need the whole signs application, and you put all your birth details in. The most important thing in your birth details is the exact birth time. And the exact birth time in Hellenistic astrology is where you get the vitality from the chart. And I just want to say to people that don't know your exact birth time, you generally can do a session with me. It will take a full session for me to get to know you. But when people don't know their exact birth time, I can still do the session with you. I need to listen to you. And generally, I can figure out your ascendant, mostly because the ascendant is literally your character, it's your personality, it's the way your body looks. It's kind of like the self when you're developing in your mother's womb. And as we know, Cancer is the first apostle. So Cancer is the mother's womb and the nourishment of the feminine from the sacred waters of the feminine. So generally, I can determine just by meeting you what your ascendant is. And I've done that several times. So if you don't know your birth time, you can contact the hospital or the town clerk and ask them for a long form birth certificate. How I got my father's birth time, and I actually have his chart, is I did military records. So for my dad, who died quite young at 36 years old, I have his military records so amazingly as his blood type and his birth time. And so I was able to run that also. The other way people have found their exact birth time, I have one client who it wasn't on the birth certificate, but you look in a baby book, and sometimes like the little wrist bracelet, if you were born in a hospital, will say that. Or if you were born at home, sometimes there's like a card or something with the announcement of the baby's birth, or, something like that. You might have to dig through your family relics to find all the different people in your life that you want to study their charts. So the ascendant is the most important degree mark. I was going to also show you, this is a planisphere, which I spoke about last time. It's very hard to see the planisphere because it's so tiny. But what it is today is July 13th. So you move the wheel, and when you move the wheel, you'll see if you go to July 13th at noon, which is what it is right now, at noon on July 13th, and then you take your finger up here through the ecliptic, right, this way, you will see that the conjunction today for noon in July is both Pollux and Procyon. So Procyon is here, Pollux is here. They're on either side of the ecliptic. So Procyon and Pollux are basically on the eastern horizon right now. Now that you've seen that, I'm going to show you the horoscope. So this little chart and I will move myself so that you can see it, and I will read it also myself. This little chart are the 12 different houses. So the first house is going to depend on your exact birth time. So in the 12 apostles, Cancer's the thema mundi. That's the natural condition of the body and being fully nurtured and fully loved while you're in the womb. So that's the natural condition is Cancer. So this is the most emotionally supportive and sensitive part of the chart, because what you're doing now is you're overlaying, you're layering what we learned about the thema Monday and the summer solstice of the longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. And someone asked, why is this perspective from the Northern Hemisphere? And I quite frankly have to tell you, because as far as I know, and Demetra talks about it in her astrology book, as far as I know, the way that astrology was created was Uriel taught from the Orkney Islands of Scotland. So all of those stone structures in the Orkney Islands, those were the teaching places. And so astrology was basically made in the Northern Hemisphere. And then that information was transmitted all over the world. And so it works. I know because I have people from the Southern Hemisphere that it absolutely works. The seasonal depictions of Cancer for the Northern Hemisphere somehow magically works for people who are also in the Southern Hemisphere. And I know that because several students in this class are actually from New Zealand or Australia. I also have students from Tasmania. So it works. So that's the amazing thing. So this ascendant degree is called the horoscope because in ancient times, there was always someone who was watching the sky and they had all of this all worked out. Okay, there are ancient, both stone and metal supercomputers that showed the astrology was perfect for the ascendant degree. So horoscope actually means the hourly watcher, because in ancient times, this is how we told time. In fact, I was reading a Druid book recently of the plants to pick, and there's this wonderful plant that is an anti-mutagenic. It is called self-heal. And the self-heal plant, it says to pick when the dog star is rising. So I just showed you on this thing, this is how you tell time. The dog star is rising. Okay, I just moved that little wheel, and Procyon and Polex, and also we're still in that seasonal depiction where Sirius is also still on the eastern horizon, because all of that happens during this time of year, which is the seasonal depiction of Cancer, which is why I started in Cancer. That's why I started the astrology sessions, because it works in this system environment. It works. So I know that my work will, this effort that I'm making right now will continue because I'm also doing it at the right time, at the beginning cardinal water of the feminine. Now, in your chart, you might have a different first sign. It's based on your birth time and the location of your birth time. And the amazing thing is that no chart is like any other chart. Every single chart is completely unique and different. So when I'm making generalizations about Venus in that sign or, Jupiter in that sign, just know that that's a generalization for the purpose of trying to build foundation in astrology, but there will also be personal asteroids there, and the planet might be also conjunct a particular fixed star that changes the flavor of that planet. And then finally, depending on what house it's in, is dependent upon where you apply that planet and that sign. So if you have Venus in Virgo in the first house, that's a very different application than Venus in Virgo in the fifth house. And that is why the houses are important. Okay. And then there's another part to this. This is considered your vitality and your life force. And so it is therefore called the ascendant or the rising sign. And what I understand right now is that people need to keep their vitality. They need to keep their life force energy going. Really a massive amount of self-care. And what brings you joy comes from your ascendant degree. The planets within that ascendant degree can tell you some of how to do that. And they can also tell you like the poisons to avoid. So we'll use my chart for today because I am a public figure. I can, I'm a private person, but I'm also making public videos. So we'll use my chart today. But generally, you keep your chart private and you don't let people know, like what planets are your main vitality, because this is the like very important part of your life force. This is connected to the whole rest of the chart. So whatever you do for your ascendant degree, and the planets that are in that ascendant. So if you have Uranus there, you tend to be someone who's ingenious, an inventor, a revolutionary, a bit of a rebel. So that's how it works too. But this configures to the rest of the wheel. Some are blind spots. So the 12th house is a blind spot. It does not configure to the ascendant. It's what directly is behind you, like trying to look over your shoulder. This is the hidden place. This is when you were in your mother's womb in the 12th house. And then literally we pass through the womb. And somewhere in this 30 degrees is going to be your ascendant degree. If you're at the beginning, you will see in the volume 2 of Demetra George, Ancient Astrology, the beginning degrees have different planetary rulerships than the very last degrees. So if your ascendant is in the beginning degrees, you tend to have like nicer planets affecting you and your life is not so intense and difficult. But if you're at the last degree, like mine is like 2959, I have to look at my chart. It's very like at the last degree here. So it's decan, or what's called time lord or bound lord, is going to be Saturn or Mars. So you will work very hard because the people with the last degree marks are the kind of the gates that open to the next seasonal depiction. Okay. So this configures very nicely by sextile to the third house, by square to the fourth house, by trine to the fifth house, but does not have a geometric aspect to the sixth house either. So this is a harder house that you have to make conscious. So that's why it's important to know your rising sign or your ascendant degree, because you will have to make conscious, you will need to make known to yourself what is in your sixth house. And the same with the eighth house. The eighth house does not configure. This is considered the idle place, the place of letting go, otherworldly visitors, also known as death, which we're going to talk about the change that's happening right now. So basically, your ascendant degree is the most important thing, and it's called ascendant because it's your life breath, your vitality, and how you stay alive. How do you stay alive? You do your ascendant degree. And I do want to say, Aurora put up an excellent video about time this week that if you go to Flying Rainbow Lasagna and look at her Wednesday class, she did a wonderful description of time. And we basically are time. We are time. What I understand is that somehow we have been enclosed, like boxed in, so that our experiences were not easily reaching either the Christ consciousness or source consciousness. And what we are doing right now, we are literally freeing ourselves from that artificial construct so that we are freely moving through time. Okay, so in other videos, I have talked about like they made holidays, these wrong holidays, like the Super Bowl over here, right? So that your time is all mixed up and you're not remembering that natural part of moving through the seasons and moving through time. So this is your movement through time. And your ascendant degree is the most important degree. So if you have a planet or asteroids there, that's what you want to study. If there's a poisonous asteroid like mine, which is like the asteroid beer, then you also have to know how to be careful about not entangling with some of the more dangerous asteroids. And remember, the asteroid belt is the broken bits of Tiamat. So the more that we make it conscious, the more that you realize it, the more we resolve it or even dissolve it. If it's a tough one like Persephone or Proserpina, which I also have in my first house, then you take that and you you put those kind of abduction asteroids into entropy because they're from a broken, dead planet, Tiamat. And you can put any of the negative ones and say, oh, I know what that is. There's the Persephone asteroid. They're trying to abduct me again. But there's also really great material in Voyagers Volume 2 about actually in Voyagers Volume 1 about sometimes the sleep abductions are because you might be an indigo 3, indigo 2, or indigo 1. So I might get into the Palladorian birthing contracts today, and I can show you that for my mom's chart. So the ascendant is super important. It's your life force. It's the way your body regenerates. Right now, I am doing my ascendant because I happen to be a Libra ascendant. So I've got my little art piece here. This is how I express myself with the Libra ascendant. I like to do art pieces around astrology. I draw all day long. I have lots of fun drawing people's charts. So I am literally giving myself vitality. I am giving myself life force. I am expressing my character because I'm doing my ascendant degree right now. Now, the next piece and what's important about the ascendant degree, the next most important thing in ancient astrology is the ruler. The planet that rules the ascendant is called the steersman of the ship. So for me, if I'm a Libra ascendant, you have to know the rulerships, which we kind of went into, and I will definitely go over this all again when we do the individual planets. But for Libra, the ruler is what? You don't have to say it, but it's Venus. Okay, so Venus, where is Venus? So that's the steersman of your life force. And for me, Venus is found in Sagittarius in the third house. So what do? I study, I communicate, I walk around and I see nature in my local neighborhood. It is called the house of the goddess. The third house is the house of the goddess. So I'm very reverent to nature, Mother Nature as the goddess. So all of that is how I then follow the steersman of the ship for me is Venus. And then there will be an asteroid at your Venus. Mine is Merlin. And also a fixed star. My fixed star as Antares there. So even though Antares and Ophiuchus overlap, it is exactly conjunct Antares, so the heart of the Scorpion. So what am I doing? I'm always digging up those taboo subjects. I'm bringing out like that occult knowledge, that esoteric stuff, that like heart of the Scorpion, what other people are not willing to talk about. Yeah. So when I look back over my life, I go, oh my gosh, Venus was steering this ship. And Venus is not always love and beauty. Okay. So we got to know that Venus has a very dark side too. And she's willing to look at the deeper, darker issues. And she's also a battle goddess. So she's willing to kick butt after being in the underworld. So that's very quickly how I do my life. The sun and the moon, all of the rest of the planets are absolutely secondary to the horoscope, the first house, the ascendant. What is your ascendant wanting from you? Also, because this is how we move through time, The planets are always moving and things will cross your ascendant and they will bring out that certain aspect for you. So if you have Pluto crossing your ascendant, which I have had happen, you might get more abducted. It might feel like you're like this heavyweight planet is taking away your life breath. So just know that. And that's how I know astrology is correct, because since I made my last video series in 2018, I've done 6,500 more charts, and I absolutely am positive from empirical evidence that this system works and it's foolproof. So once you know your ascendant, you want to do what your ascendant wants from you, even if, like I've talked about, Gemini is a social butterfly. Talk, 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 talk. Well, my darlings, that's what you have to do. And so you want to be able to speak about subjects, be curious like a butterfly, take the nectar, the best of the best from every subject, and then move on. Okay, so that's the Gemini. If you're a Scorpio ascendant, remember that's like that mystical shaman Scorpio ascendant. You're very sensitive, you can feel everything. And then the ruler of Scorpio is Mars. So then you have to look at Mars. Where is Mars steering the ship? And that's the next piece that you do. And you say, oh, Mars is in that sign. That sign is that apostle, that archetype, and I should work that way. And then you should know, what house is it in? Okay, so that's the ascendant, and the steersman of the ascendant is the planet that rules it. That's where your vitality, your life force is coming from. So when I have a client who's not doing their ascendant and they're breaking down mentally, physically, or emotionally, you steer the client back to the ascendant and say, well, if you have a Cancer ascendant, do you have like a nice, nurturing, comfy house? And is your bed really nice? Can you like get into bed and read a good book? Are you taking good care of yourself? Are you having nice baths? Do you occasionally get a massage and so forth like that? Okay. So that's how the ascendant works, is that you need to be able to know what that seasonal depiction is about, and then the planet that rules that and where it's operating in the chart. If your planet, like in Claude's chart, which we can look at, I have that drawn for today. If your planet that rules the ascendant is in the 8th house, it can be like you don't even know how to do that. So I will also help you to understand whatever planet is in a house that does not configure to the ascendant. You need to really like up the strength and understanding and awareness of where that planet is operating and what your skills are there that can be positively used. Okay, so this is our movement through time, and the planets are all making geometries that basically make space-time. It's an astounding system. We are freeing time right now by freeing ourselves. So if you watched my Sophia, the Mother of the Demiurge, I had explained that time operates differently in different places. Certainly, they are not doing stupid holidays that get people off track in terms of time. So our time has been very manipulated in here by ridiculous holidays. So just try and get yourself away from those holidays. And I'm going to go into like also the cross quarter days and what those mean and why are those important in time. So we're freeing time, and we're freeing ourselves in time because we are time. And as I said, if you read the Voyagers material, there's some kind of a box. Literally, they draw it as a box. And when I took Aurora's Path of Light class, she also drew it as a box. There's some kind of box that is intercepting our experiences that should be going back to the Christ consciousness grid and going back to the source. And so what we're doing is literally we're freeing ourselves and we're freeing time right now. So in other dimensions, and Aurora does mention this in her time video, like in the 4th dimension, time operates differently. So Like the poltergeists that are in the fourth dimension, folks, they can play the long game. They're playing the 13,000-year game. All right. So for us, time feels very different. We're like, oh my gosh, we're so tired. It's so exhausting. They're trying to wear us out. All right. And that's why before we started the recording, Lauren was talking about like bring yourself vitality. There's also great gifts and joy and incredible things that are happening this right now. So you want to get out of their distraction and know what your ascendant degree is and the steersman, the planet that rules your ascendant, and work on that for yourself. Take really good care of yourself. I know that this year my North Node is also returning to my natal North Node in Pisces. So I am really bringing myself into my destiny very actively, consciously. That's how you use this moving through time is you start to understand it, make it your own. Then now here's another thing. People will often think that if they don't study their astrology and they have no idea what their ascendant is, that therefore they're free of astrology. And I would say it's exactly the opposite. I have my mother's chart. She has never studied astrology. I have never read her chart to her. And yet she's exactly what her chart says. In fact, the problem becomes if you don't know what your chart says, you start to entangle in the bad parts. And Demetra George taught for a little while. My teacher, Demetra George, taught for a little while at the Kepler University, and they kicked her out because, and this is private. Demetra told me this when we were studying together. She said that they don't allow you to say like bad or malevolent or maltreated, or you're not allowed to say any of those words. So then modern astrology has made like this saccharine like cover up also to difficult placements and difficult planets. And then you can't help your client because you got to say like positive things all the time. Like, so Demetra literally took herself out of that organized indoctrination and wrote her own books. And that is why I'm telling you, like, use Demetra George's books because of all the other books, folks, they're the indoctrination program. Demetra George was not teaching in the indoctrination program. And that's why I studied with her. There's other pieces too. When a teacher like that level, a master like Demetra George, when she accepted me as a student, she ran her chart and my chart together to make sure that we were going to be great together. And so that's part of it too. Being an astrologer is an initiation. Like it's a very high level initiation. It's like becoming a shaman. So I'm very grateful for the people who are in this group because I connect very well. I feel very free when I'm speaking, and that allows me to do my ascendant because I have a Libra ascendant. I have to feel comfortable socially relating with my students. All right. So know that about your own ascendant. Um, for instance, with Claude has a Virgo ascendant, which is the primary ascendant in North America. He has to do material security. And because he's not working in the job world, he does material security by planting and harvesting food. So he always has material security, but not in the way that they tell you. You see, that's the other thing. Get out of like the colonized mind that was given to us by the Jehovah Anunnaki and start to get into the real truth of who you are. When you have a Virgo ascendant, you don't have to work 9 to 5 bank hours. You don't have to, but you can. But you do want to work on your material security. So Virgo likes to make sure that it has enough like fruits and vegetables and good food stored away because that's the nature of Virgo. So that's that apostle. Remember, we're overlaying this to the original 12 apostles. The first house, just like when we did the 12 apostles, is the most important thing. So if you have a family member who's not doing well, yes, there's other pathogens in here that are causing people to not do well. And then the astrology just doesn't work. Honestly, it just doesn't work because none of that was natural. But still, you can help your family member by telling them what their first house is and making sure that they have everything they need on that. And like when the sun goes over their ascendant, giving them a phone call and saying, "Hey, how are you? I love you. You're beautiful. You're a miracle. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that I know you." So that's when the sun goes over their ascendant degree. That's also when you give them a special call, or when the ruler of the ascendant goes over the ascendant degree. And it's all, this is how we are moving through time. And this is why Hallmark holidays and the stupidity of the holidays out there don't make any sense to me at all, because that's getting you into the artificial overlay to your natural movement through time. So your time is different from my time. Okay. Your time is different in its quality from my time based on where the planets are interacting magnetically with your original life force energy from your birth degree. It's called ascendant because, again, this is how you stay alive. And even though I shared Dan Winter's video about how to leave the matrix, and he talked about lucid dreaming, and if you could lucid dream, you'll also be able to leave when you leave your body. But Aurora corrected that this week. She said, "Okay, folks, things have changed. Things are changing. You have to stay alive." The old demiurge matrix is being taken down or has been taken down. You must stay alive. So that's why I'm also saying, do your ascendant degree. Ascendant. If you're going to transfigure and reascend back into your natural form as a human, you also have to get your divine blueprint going, which I've written up here, because your divine blueprint is what moves you through time and where you will be after you move through time. And there's a big time event coming up this year, folks. Massive time event. The water, as I said, is reversing. The currents, the water is reversing right now. So we are going to have a reversal. I had a very clear dream in the middle of the day. I was basically forced or asked to lay down and sleep. And I saw Aurora's flying rainbow lasagna. It's an architecture that she has created for our freedom and our free movement through time. And I saw it. I fell asleep. I laid down, and within seconds, I saw this architecture, and it was in a clear, like blue, almost like midnight blue sapphire background. And it was that architecture rising, and that will be the new architecture for Gaia. So it's astounding, but we are freeing ourselves and we are freeing time right now. Stay alive, your ascendant degree. This is also, there's joys here. Okay, so there's planetary joy. So I just also want to speak about the fact that the first house is the planetary joy of Mercury, because when you're in your mother's womb, you're developing your neural pathways, your fingers, your ability to communicate, and what you're going to communicate about. So Mercury's joy is actually the first house. And Mercury's like, Mercury's that trickster element. So when you come in, you can come into very difficult, like hardships, or you can come into like clear, alert communication. And I had posted this week a baby that had a water birth and they still had the placenta and the umbilical cord, and the baby was smiling, and you could just see this like lovely energy, and its fingers and its toes were moving. So Mercury is in its joy in the first house. Now, the second house, after you're born, the second house is what are your values that are developing? What do you value? And you often learn this when you're a tiny little toddler and even in your mother's womb. So with one of my daughters, I played Bach a lot, right? So I played Bach like baby Bach, so she could hear celestial music. And my other daughter, I sang Sanskrit. I was like singing a lot and playing music. So both of them had a lot of music when they were in the womb. So in their second house, there's where your values develop. The womb is the master programmer. So whatever mom experienced, and your ascendant degree will reflect what mom was experiencing. Then the second house is, what do you value? Where do resources come from? How do you pay for things? It's also called the gate of Hades. This is called the horoscope. This is called the gate of Hades because we've had a situation where the Satanic Space Fleet or the Jehovian Anunnakis arrived and they created scarcity where there should be absolute abundance, gift culture, right? Like, I can't wait. Like, I was so excited. I wanted to do this video hours ago. I so am full of wanting to gift as much as I can of any knowledge that I have. That's the second house. Like, how do you value yourself? What planets are there? If you have a malefic planet, things are going to go a little bit rougher. So if you have Saturn there, you might feel more restricted, more limited in your values and your resources. But then you have to work with that planet. You have to work that out. And that's going to come in future sessions. But this is also a fixed sign, Leo, right? So when we go back to the apostles, this is the solstice. And this is moving through time. Your ascendant might not be at the solstice degree, but I'm also overlaying the fact this is the solstice, the height of the sun. This is usually Leo, which is Lammas or Lugnasa, and that's when the abundance of the harvest on August 2nd, you bring in the abundance of the harvest, and there's like, wow, are we going to have enough? Is there enough beans? Is there enough zucchini? Is there enough winter squash? Like, Claude is out there watering the cucumbers right now and the peas and stuff. So by August 2nd, you should have a cornucopia of massive amounts of abundance in food. Now, this is truly, if you overlay and remember, this is the house of the king, right? Where everyone's going to be well fed. There's going to be abundance. There's going to be food and valuable resources for everyone. Now we have this strange scarcity system. I'm trying to change that right now, literally by making a gift economy so that, this course is done by donation. At the end, you can make a donation if you like to. And that's the way I'm doing the retreat too, is like, you just pay for your room and your transportation. And at the end of the retreat, if you want to donate $50 or something, for the cost of putting together, it's a gift culture. So we're changing that, and we have to change that to the abundance of what we really value. And that value is an energetic exchange. And the energetic exchange is going to be like give and receive, gift, and then give back. That's where you get that from. If you feel restricted in your second house, then know that you're going to move through time, because this is our movement through time, with those feelings of like there's never enough, scarcity, restriction. So then you have to know what planets are there and what asteroids might affect you. And if they're negative ones, you put them in entropy, but you have to know they're there. And that's why astrology is important. So this is the gate of Hades. If you get stuck in Hades, if you get stuck in feeling like there's never enough, I'm not abundant, you have to figure out how to open up your second house. And I will show you that you do that through the ruler, the planetary ruler of the second house, and also what planets are there. Okay, so Lammas, August 2nd. And then the third house is the house of the goddess. The moon is very happy in the house of the goddess. The third house is your relationship to your siblings. So whatever planet is there and whatever sign rules that house is often your relationship to your brothers and sisters, or people, if you don't have brothers and sisters, people that you consider like your soul family, your tribe, your siblings, your neighborhood, the people you want to communicate with. It's also like the seasonal depictions. And the reason that it's called the house of the goddess, when I spoke about the 12 apostles, is that's when you learn the seasonal holidays, or you learn when you bring in the blueberries, and you learn how to get the blueberries before all the birds get the blueberries. So that's like Virgo in the Thema Monday, which might not be where it is in your chart, but that's about learning those seasonal, aspects of how you move through time. By doing this astrology with you, I am also trying to free time. I am freeing us to get out of the baloney that we are told is the holiday, like Labor Day, right? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, they give you one day off instead of having like a week long celebration of the bounty that has come in. So, see how it's been done, that you have to labor instead of enjoy watering the garden, enjoy bringing in the cucumbers, enjoy making the kimchi, enjoy drinking the kombucha. So, all of that, right? So, it's like they had frozen time, the architect of the demiurge overlay, because there was nothing natural and organic about it. It has to be organic like this. So, the third house is that if you don't have good relationships with your siblings, you can try to solve it, but also know there's transiting planets there. So if something's transiting your third house, you might have a difficulty for that period of time. It might change the relationship, but it might also renew and come back to that relationship, come back to that third house and study again. Who are my friends? Who are my siblings now? Who do I consider my tribe or my soul family now? The fourth house, now this leads in, right? You're a baby, you're a little kid, then you start playing in the neighborhood and going to community seasonal depictions. The fourth house is called the root. It's often where your eye see, imam coli. It's also called the nadir. It if up here is like where you are seen in the world, this is where your home and family are quite private or can be quite private, depending on what sign and what planets are there. So this is the home, family, ancestry, origins. What was your child like? Home life like, who was in that home life. Um, and for me, you might even find asteroids there. Like I have Claude and Richter. So I live with Claude Richter because I have those asteroids. And when I show you my mom's chart, you're going to see Richard, which was my father's name. She lived with Richard. And weirdly, my brother's name is Richard too. So she also still has Richard. So you will find sometimes the name of the people that you actually live with, and it could be a middle name, it could be a last name, and I won't know what that is. So to do that, you do the free horoscopes, the extended chart selection, the web style default, full signs, and then you go down to additional objects and you can go through like the full alphabet. There's so many asteroids, it's unbelievable. And then find the name that might be prominent there. Some people's their name is not going to be there. So you might, find something close to it. Or it might be a characteristic like, you live with Mr. Spock because he's this weird alien hybrid, right? So it could be something like that, archetypal. But this is the home, the hearth. It has to do with real estate, physical land, like the property. So if my fourth house is Capricorn, you're always going to find me on like a big physical property that has to do with structures. And every property that I live on has a fence with gates because I know how to make boundaries, which is Capricorn. Okay, so Capricorn is like the bony structures, or you have to be the lord of your estate. So know that about your fourth house. Whatever sign or, the seasonal depiction or the apostle that is the archetype of your fourth house, that's how you want to live. So, um, I'm thinking, I know all of your charts, so I'm trying to think, so if you have a fourth house that is Pisces, you might need to live near the river. You might need to live near the water or the beach or things like that where you can go swimming, or you live right on an aquifer where you can get like spring water every day and you can be a mermaid and go down and like swim with the manatees. So that would be a Pisces fourth house. You see how I'm doing this? That's the condition of your ancestry, but also what do you need in the physical property? Like, what should your apartment look like? Where should your house be located? That's the fourth house. Now, when we get to the fifth house, now remember, this second house does not configure. The third house is bisextile, so that one's always graceful and easy. The fourth house is a square, so it'll be a crisis with your home and family. It doesn't matter how good your parents are. It is meant to be a crisis. It is meant to be a square. You are meant to leave your family home potentially when you're 18 years old. Both of my girls left when they were 18, and they left their home because to be themselves, their first house, they can't live with me. It's a square. It's a crisis to live with your parents. And so that's why I like that Cahill Gilbran poem of like, the mother is this beautiful portal, right? She pulls back the string of the bow and she sends that arrow as far away from her as possible so that her children are often the antithesis. They're supposed to go their own way. Otherwise, we'd be all exactly the same. And I would be exactly like my mother. And there would be no unique, diverse experience here. So the first house makes a 90-degree angle to the fourth house. You are supposed to leave your parents completely. And don't try and hold on to your kids. Let them go wherever they're supposed to go. Poof, magic fairy, go and be free. That's how you free your child and yourself through time. We're freeing ourselves, we're freeing time. Now, the fifth house is a trine. This, whatever this is, in the element and the gender will be the same element and gender as this because it'll trine. So if this is Libra for me, this has got to be Aquarius because that's the next air sign. Air, air. Whereas this is going to be a square. So this is going to be different signs and different elements. Are you starting to get it? When we get into the geometries, I'll make it really clear to you. So this fifth house is a trine of the life force. A trine amplifies life force. So this house is about birth and creation, romance, and sexuality because it trines the life force. It makes an amplifying energy. If you're going to bring children in, you need to have good supportive planets here. If you have no planets there, like I did a chart session yesterday, no planets there. And before I even got there, she was like, I never wanted children. I was like, good, because you have no planets there. No, don't do it. All right. So this is really like, this is so profoundly exact. I always have to be like, where are we and who designed this? Some kind of unbelievable super genius, because this is really amazing. It's absolutely foolproof too. Like there is nothing that you can convince me that this is not about children, creativity, sexuality, romance. It's also art, dance, movement, expression. So whatever is going on here, this is the joy of Venus. It's considered a house of good fortune. All right, this is a good house, the fifth house of whether you want to be creative and how you want to be creative. So whatever sign is here is how you are creative. In the seasonal depiction of the Thema Mundi, not particularly your chart, unless you were born with the Cancer ascendant Thema Mundi, but this is Scorpio in the Thema Mundi. So this is All Hallows. This is November 2nd. This is when the veil is thin, because if you're going to be a portal and you're going to bring in a creation and you're going to create something, whether it's art or music or dance or children, the veil has got to be thin over here to bring them through the veil. This is All Hallows, November 2nd. I'm going to tell you something else. Astrology works for everything here, including your dog. So, Ezzy's my dog. Her birthday is November 3rd, and she is the most psychic, sensitive creature I think I have ever met because of her birthday. And there's fixed stars there too. Remember, there's the jewel of gnosis, the crown chakra, jewel of gnosis star, Alphecca is also in here. So know that that is also affecting your movement through time. If you're born close to All Hallows, which is like October 31st through like October 4th or 5th, you're in the thin time. That's why the shamanic people are the archetype of Scorpio. It's the thin time between the worlds where if you're going to have a procreation, whether it's an art piece or a child, this has got to be the thin time. You see that? Now, when we move over here into the sixth house, this does not have a geometric aspect. In modern astrology, they tried to make all kinds of weird geometric aspects like quincunx and yods and all this baloney. But the reason that those don't work is because the planets do not make those movements through time. And when we get to my little picture book of the movement of the planets don't make that. The planets make triangulations, they make squares, they make sextiles, they do not make yods. So just forget all of that stuff from modern astrology. This is how you do it. I'm going to tell you. This just is the sixth house does not configure to the ascendant. There is no geometric aspect. So if you're using astro.com and some weird like dotted lines are drawn in from the first house to the sixth house, do not draw that in. Do not draw that in. That's all there is to it. All right. And I will teach you how to draw the correct aspects. Now, when I studied with Demetra, I did her webinars, which were basically like what we're doing, which was $25 a webinar. But I also studied with her personally every single week on Tuesday mornings. And that at the time, back in 2013, that was $100. And then she would help me. I've already done this with Natalie, who is in our group too. Natalie studied with me very personally so that she would draw a chart and I would review it and then she would read the chart. So this is kind of like the webinar where you're getting the overview. But if you meet with me like once a month or something, show me what you're working on. Show me what you're working on and I'll help you so that you can understand it. But the sixth house is the joy of Mars. It has to do with livestock, pets like dogs, cats. It does not configure to the ascendant, so it's considered the house of servitude. And in a way, our animals, our pets, are, dogs, cats, goats, chickens, all of those things are in a way in service or in servitude because some of us, we still eat goats and chickens and things like that. So that's considered the house of service. It's also considered the house of health. So if you have health issues, I will look to the sixth house. Do you have something squaring your sixth house? Is there a planet that's transiting your sixth house that is going to make a problem? Is there an opposition from your 12th house of something in your psychic world that is affecting your, that's how you do the geometries to learn about your health. This is a house of overcoming slavery. Through what? Through the truth. Because In the theme of Monday, this is Sagittarius. So the way you overcome slavery is you get to the truth. You get really candid, you speak authentically, you know who you are, and you're looking for the higher truth. So the archetype of that sixth house is the pilgrim, right? Who is on a journey to discover the truth. Often you will find the truth what? Through health issues. You will find the truth through your little dog. Like my little dog knows everything. I watch my little dog. She's way smarter than me. And so I watch her. If a thunderstorm is coming, she'll hear it. She'll feel it. She'll smell the rain coming. She listens really carefully. So the sixth house does have to do with pets and their service to us, the health, and also how to get out of slavery. It is the joy of Mars. It's also like your daily activities. Don't try and read this because I've got it written upside down for like when I turn the wheel. But it is also like the day-to-day activities. You get up at 5, uh, you do your sun gazing, you take your vitamins or supplements or whatever it is that you do in the morning. You take your walk, you clear your mind through meditation. If the sun is up after that at 7, you try and get some sun gazing done or stare at a flame. And then you start your day, your daily activities. So, sixth house has to do with daily activities also. Seventh house, now we start to get into oppositions here. This is you, this is the other person. This can be a partner, it can be a business partner, a lover, a marriage partner, or an enemy. If you have planets of disruption like Mars or Uranus or even Pluto moving through your seventh house, it's opposite to you. If you were born with Mars or Uranus, you might always be in court because this is you, this is the other person. You could end up in court, or you could be a counselor. You could be someone who's always counseling the other person. The seventh house can also be like about your marriage partner. But remember, your marriage partner, just like your home is square to your ascendant, your marriage partner is in opposition, the opposite of you. Claude is exactly the opposite of me. So it's like people, when you meet Claude, for those people who are coming to the retreat, you're going to be like, how are you two together? All right. It's because when you're moving through time, I don't do time based on what society told me I should look for in a marriage partner. I do time based on what does my chart say my marriage partner is. Oh, my marriage partner is Aries. And there he is, a stellium in Aries. Okay. The aspects might be difficult. The way that you relate to your partner might be the greatest work that you ever do because you're two souls traveling through time. You're two souls experiencing this, getting yourself free from the demiurge overlay of the maggots that are in here feeding off of us. But your partner is who you're going to go through the apocalypse with. Ha! If this is your ascendant degree, this is who you're going to go through the apocalypse with, the great revealing, because this is a mirror to you. This is a mirror to you. So if this is me, this person is going to make me more me without compromise. I don't ever compromise with Claude. He knows who I am, and he knows I'm a very strong matriarch, and he knows that I will become the fiendess like my midheaven in Leo if we don't have truth and purity and godliness in our relationship. So this is you. This is the antithesis of you. This is the open enemy of you. This is the person that you might have to go to court with. And for me, on my descendant, my first husband, David, let me tell you, I spent 7 years in court with David. Many thousands of dollars later, I finally got my transit of Uranus over the asteroid of David. And I haven't seen David since. But did David make me develop me, my life force? Oh my gosh. So I told someone I was going to explain how the people that have been difficult in your life are your mentors. They are your tormentors. They are the ones that make you more fully you. So if you have Uranus or Mars or some, Pluto, where you're getting a divorce or you're going through court with some situation, go back over here. Who are you? What are you doing here? They're trying to make you into you to really live your life force and your truth and your vitality and your character and how your body works. If they don't, leave them behind, because the next house was the eighth house of letting go. So when you start having planets there and a transiting planet in your eighth house, whoever was bothering you here, now it might be time to let them go. Might be time to move on now. Get out of court, get out of that relationship or whatever. And that's why I'm never afraid of making changes. People will say to me, I can't get divorced. And I'm like, yeah, but if you didn't do what just happened, or you didn't move away from, the neighborhood of people that were assaulting you, then you were not doing your chart. So you're not moving through time. And then they start to get stagnant, apathetic. They can't make that change. And then your life force starts to fail. That's how it works. If you're ascending, your ascendant degree has to be primary. You have to stay alive. Don't let them kill you, please. And this is a game. I see it as a game. Like, it might be a bad Monty Python show. I've said that before, but it is a game. And this is the cards in the game. These are the cards that you've been played. You got to play your best hand. Whatever you got played, you can't do it the way I did it. You have to do the way that you are doing it. So the eighth house, then moving through time, this is where you let go. The eighth house does not configure to the ascendant, so it is often associated with death, letting go of things. Now we're in the age of Aquarius, so the death of death is also happening. That's why, even though I posted Dan Winter's video last week about how to leave here through, like, when your body is finished, to leave through like lucid dreaming, but Aurora said that is not going to work anymore, folks. Things have changed here. So I'm telling you right now, things do change, and you have to study the mechanics all the time. So now we have a whole different thing. I'm not even sure the tunnel of light and all of that stuff even exists anymore. I don't know. So just be aware of that. The eighth house is letting go. It's a very mystical and magical house. When you read Demetra's book, know that she was studying with me. She and I were doing it at the same time, and she basically wrote about Claude's eighth house because she used Claude's chart a lot to write this book. She used Claude's chart in her webinars because he was one of the most profound eighth house characters that she'd ever seen. And his eighth house is profound because Claude, in some of my old videos, I talked about the necromancer and the eighth house. When Claude was a little kid, he lived in Europe a lot because his father was a professor and he was always studying and teaching over there. And when he would live in different places, like the ghosts and the ghouls and the poltergeists would come to him. That's called a necromancer. Dead people would come to him, like non-ordinary situations. So as a little kid, he was really afraid all the time. He was like, wait, do you not see those dead people? So like, by the time he got with me, he was like, oh my gosh, there's someone who can see the dead people. So Claude was finally like relaxed. But if you have a lot of planets in this eighth house, you have work with the other world. All right. You have work with deceased people. Like if you read Thomas Meyer's book about the elementals, you might also have work with the elementals and the piles and piles of deceased people who are piling up right now who can't find their soul, because that's what Dan Winter said in that video I put in the description from last week. Is Dan said the electrosmog is stealing billions of souls every day. And he says, I'm a physicist and he knows it for sure. It is the 5G plus. It is basically, it breaks your light body, your biofield, your aura, and it starts to sever you from your soul. So that's pretty intense, folks. But what I'm trying to tell you is the eighth house was traditionally about death and letting go. Now it's about the death of death. No one is going to die anymore, but you might be in the virtual reality called the Phantom Matrix, or you might go on to the new reality, which I think is going to be the architecture of the lasagna. That's what I saw this week. So this is the house that psychologists, shamans, necromancers, mediums, people that can talk to the other world will have planets there. I have Saturn there, and we'll get into the fact that my father's name is there, Richard, and he was the first one that passed on, and I talked to him nonstop. Like I mean, that I didn't believe he was dead, honestly. So that eighth house was how I got a lot of my shamanic skills, because my Saturn's there, so it made me do this. And in another way, that's why my dad was a major blessing, because as a 10-year-old, I became a shaman. It was unbelievable. So that's that eighth house stuff. It doesn't have anything to do with sexuality. And Demetra totally explains that in her ancient astrology. Modern astrologers said, oh, when a man ejaculates, that's like a little death. Stupid. I mean, just please. I mean, it has nothing to do with sexuality, but they try and say that it does because it has something to do with man ejaculating. It makes no sense to me at all. But the ninth house, okay. Oh, and this is Imbolc on February 2nd. So you'll see that the cross quarter days for the theme of Monday. Last thing, last session, I got a little confused and I realized I wouldn't be able to edit it, but this is February 2nd, and this is opposition to that, which is August 2nd. This is November 2nd, so this is May 2nd. So those are the cross quarter days. They're in the fixed signs. And those are how we move through time. Imbolc, remember when I made that video about why do they have the Super Bowl at that time? Because Imbolc is that magical, also kind of like All Hallows, where you're not sure if you're going to live or you're going to die, because it's that time in February when you're not sure whether you're going to live or die. And so Imbolc was called the initiation of the witches. So Claude would be considered a necromancer, like a witch in the old world. And Demetra kind of, messed with him a little bit. There's some other stuff that I'll tell you about how I worked through Claude as a shaman also. He taught me a lot because he could carry around entities, because this eighth house kind of makes you a little bit of a borderline personality because it does not configure to the ascendant. So Claude would be carrying around these entities and I'd be like, honey, what did you just get into? Like, oh my gosh. And then I'd have to like clear it from him. And now he does the lasagna dance too. So he does all his own clearings, but like, wow, that man can pick up entities like you can't believe, because the eighth house does not configure to the ascendant, so it tends to make you a bit of a borderline personality, and you don't know what cooties you're getting on you because you're interacting with this other world stuff. Now moving through time, the ninth house is the alchemist, the metaphysician. This is the necromancer. Now we're getting into the upper parts of our intellect. Also, the ninth house is considered the house of God. This is the house of the goddess. So the opposition is the house of God. This is the gate of Hades. So again, the outlet, if you've been stingy like Scrooge and you never, felt like giving any of your gifts, Where's your outlet? Your outlet is into the 8th house of death. So that's why I say free up your gifts and your values and your offerings, folks. Like the energy exchange is like this. If you're constricted here, you're going there. All right. You're going towards the path of hell. It's through the gate of Hades. So unrestrict yourself. Be very giving, be very generous. I know that there's pathogens and weird stuff right now, but at least in this little group, like be very giving. And be very giving of your gifts where you can, where it is safe to be that, because these are the oppositions, folks. That's how it works. Now, the 9th house, the goddess, you got to start here when you're a little kid and understand all of this amazing architecture of nature to come up here and be the alchemist. So this is the house of God. This is the metaphysician. This is an oracle. This is a dream time. This is also considered the house of the astrologer. So yes, there are people on the call that I've told you before. You would be a great oracle, astrologer, diviner, seer, dream interpreter, um, all things metaphysics. This is the 9th house. It is the joy of the sun. So this is the joy of the moon, opposition, the joy of the sun. So if you have your sun there, you're a natural clairvoyant. You're a natural, all the clairs, clairaudient, claircognizant. You can also have like a mathematical calculation there. You can have your vertex there. You can have your part of fortune there, or you can even have your midheaven there. And I'm going to have to explain how the ascendant and the midheaven and the IC and the descendant, which is usually in the 7th house, they can swing. So you can have your midheaven in the 9th house of an astrologer. And to some extent, that's how I picked who was in the class. I had to pick who works well with my chart and also who is meant to be an astrologer, who is meant to be like an oracle. That is going to be this house. So the sun is in its joy there, and the sun is the Christ. So the sun, the real sun, the son of the sun, of the galactic central sun, is the Christ. So our real star, which is hidden from us, is the real Christ. So this is the joy where you are transmitting, because I already told you that something about this system is like in a box where the Christ is not actually getting our experience and our information, nor is the galactic central sun. So we've had to work very hard through our oracles, through our metaphysicians, our mystics, our seers, to even know what's going on here. Because as much as we're in a box, we're also being like restricted from the cosmic antenna of what's going on out there in the cosmos. So that's like the 9th house, people. You got planets there, depending on what the sign is how you get that information. It's how you ground it down into your physical experience and then send your physical experience, your emotional experience, your mental experience back to the cosmos. And I will take questions. Don't worry. I know this is like, what the heck are you talking about, Lalita? But Asha and Adine also shows it in Voyagers Volume 2. She shows this 12 pointed star, which is apparently what Gaia is. Gaia is like a 12 pointed star, which are these 12 apostles. But then she shows like a little box next to it that somehow our experience is like, how we've all been like, what is going on in here? Is there anyone who cares about us? It's because you really have to reach up through the 9th house to tell spirit what's going on. And that's often through our mediums, our mystics, our oracles, our astrologers who are trying to reach to the starry network and tell what's going on in here. So, if you have that gift, be very like connected to it, and spirit will be able to receive that information from you. So that's the 9th house. Then the 10th house, generally, the angle of the midheaven is there, but mine is not there. So I'm going to show you Claude's today so you can see The 10th house is generally your career, your vocation. Now, in the theme of Monday, it's Aries, right? Cancer is here, Aries is there. So, what does Aries do? It does things. Aries is like, just do it. Please do it and do it now. Just do it. Please do it. So, that's action. Aries is cardinal fire, initiate action. So, every day you get up and you go to work. If you've got the theme of Monday chart and you've got planets there in Aries, you're like, yeah, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do my exercise. I'm going to do my workout. I'm going to put my outfit on. I'm going to go to work and I'm just going to do it. That's Aries. So that's why I know that's the theme of Monday. It has to do with the honors, awards, and merits. If your midheaven is there, the honors, awards, and merits are in career. Whereas if your midheaven is there, your honors, awards, and merits are more of a mystic. If your midheaven is here, I'm so sorry. If your midheaven is here, you're more of a necromancer. You're dealing with the other world. You can also be like a doula or a midwife, bringing people in and also sending people out. But again, Aurora has definitely said that it's not going to work like that anymore. All right, so it's different now. And if your midheaven's here in the 11th house, like mine is, so we're going to get to the 11th house. The 11th house is like your global reputation, whereas the 10th house is more like your career and vocation. So, whatever sign and archetype and planets are your 10th house, that's your career and vocation. So, mine is Cancer. So, I am like overwhelmed all the time of trying to be a mother, really. Just like my mother, my mother, my mother. I'm the mother. I need to help people. I need to help people get through their crises. So that's, for me, that's Cancer. Um, the 11th house is your public reputation. So this is like who your friends are, your patrons, whether you're publicly known. If you have your sun there, you might be very publicly known. You might be like on the scene and everyone knows your name and things like that. So just know that the 11th house is that it's the joy of Jupiter. It's considered good luck in community and community building. So uh I just have to use my chart because unless you all want to talk about your charts, I'll use mine for now. So if that's Leo for me, and that's where my midheaven is, but my midheaven is not here, the midheaven tells your honors, awards, and merits. So even if it's not here on what's called the angles of the first, fourth, seventh, 10th, it could be floating over here because my ascendant degree is at 29. So actually my midheaven got over here at the first degrees of Leo. So that means, what do I do? What is my honors? I build community. And that right here, I am talking to my community. You are my community. So if I'm going to make a video, I'm trying to make community. That's my honors, awards, and merits of my lifetime. Your midheaven might also be here. I've seen the midheaven here. I've even actually seen the midheaven here in the first house. I have one client and one client only who was born above the Arctic Circle, way, way north in, like, I don't know, one of those Scandinavian places. I think it was Norway. Oh, I could be wrong. But her ascendant and her midheaven are the same degree. I was like, whoa. So her life breath and her like energy of who she is in the first house of her honors, awards, and merits. But I've had people who have the midheaven here in the 12th house, very hidden. And the one person who is a public figure, so I can name her. In astrology, you're only supposed to name like public people when you do, public presentations. So Sandra Rollis, who I used to work with a lot and did retreats with Sandra, she does womb healing because the 12th house is the womb experience. When you came through your mother's womb, the 12th house. So her midheaven is in the 12th house. I think she's like built in Belgium or something she was from. So she got the midheaven over here where she's always working on healing the womb of women because the womb is the master programmer. So you see the midheaven can move. But the ascendant and the descendant are always going to be in the first house and the seventh house. The IC can move. I've seen the IC in the third, the fourth, and the fifth house. So my IC is in my fifth house. So you can understand my origin is in creation. Like it's very complicated, but I will teach you my chart particularly sometime. So, and my midheaven is in making communities grow, growing communities. So whether I do farm to school communities, permaculture communities, yoga communities, astrology communities, all of the above, natural human communities. Your 11th house shows how you want to be in community. What is the sign or the archetype there? So if mine's Leo from last week, that I'm kind of kingly. Like I can't help it. There's no way for me to not be that. So for you, what sign is your 11th house? And that's the type of community building, your gift that you're giving to the friends and the people that you're building community with. All right. And then the 12th house is just behind the first house. And we come back to a completion. And this completion in the 12th house is the hidden part of the collective unconscious that you were able to reveal. So, whatever's in your 12th house, this is the joy of Saturn. Saturn is the planet of time. This is the joy of Saturn. This is the joy of Jupiter. This is the joy of the sun. This is the joy of Mars. This is the joy of Venus. This is the joy of the moon. This is the joy of Mercury. This is the joy of Saturn because Saturn is traditionally the timekeeper. With Saturn, that is known as Chronos, the chronology, the ability to move through time. Folks, as hard as Saturn might be in your chart, I respect Jupiter and Saturn more than the rest of the planets because Saturn is your ability to create restrictions, limitations, good hard work, discipline, boundaries in order to move through time. You have to be the lord of your estate to move through time. You don't compromise. You know where to set the boundary. You're taking that, but you're not taking that. You're eating that, but you're not eating that. And Saturn is this because then this over here starts the wheel of incarnation again, where you're going to ascend or not ascend based on your life force. So Saturn's joy is the 12th house. It's also deeply hidden things that come from the unconscious mind but affect your soul. So it's considered the house of the psyche. It's also considered the house of self-undoing. So if this is self, and this is self-worth, where you get your values, the 12th house is self-undoing. So you must know that house and what's there. You must try and look behind your shoulder and go, oh my gosh, what did I come in with that I'm trying to resolve? What is going on here? So I came in with Pluto. Pluto's in my 12th house. In Jeffrey Wolf Green's evolutionary astrology, which I have read completely and studied for years, Pluto in the 12th house is like you came back in, like you descended back into hell because you are here to free others. That's Pluto. Whereas Claude's Pluto is right on his ascendant. He is trying to like transform himself. I am trying to transform the entire collective unconscious. So it's going to depend on where that works. Pluto and Saturn actually love each other. All right. So if this is the joy of Saturn and you have Pluto here, Saturn's happy about that. Saturn's like, oh, yes, you're going to free time. You're going to do something about this. So that's how the joy of Saturn. But otherwise, when you look at my mom's chart, it's the house of imprisonments and self-undoing, where you feel like you need to stay hidden and never let anyone see you. So my mom would never come to an astrologer because she doesn't even want to know herself. She doesn't want to know what's in her unconscious mind. It's totally fascinating, this 12th house. Okay, let me just look at my notes and make sure I've got everything. So, yes, the houses that configure to the ascendant are the first, third, fourth, fifth, seventh, ninth, and 11th house. The houses that do not configure to the ascendant are the second, the sixth, the eighth, and that 12th house. Um, this is basically, this is your body and your life breath and whether you can continue to live. So this one is the most important, and this is how we move through time, and we are currently freeing time from this artificial construct so that we are time, and we can go back to living a really organic life with all of creation instead of locked in some kind of weird box that has been put artificially upon this particular matrix. So, yes, we are moving through time. And that's why I'm calling this astrology for multidimensional Earth, because we have 15 different dimensions. I'm sure that time works differently in each of those dimensions. And your blueprint, your DNA, is what moves you through time. So, someone asked me in the live video, like, where are we going? Like, when you pass through the sun. Now, if you remember when I referred to Yoni um, some videos ago, Yoni is also part of this group. She said that she's moving through to her Hova body. So Hova. So she's moving probably in a different place, time than I am, and potentially a different dimension. I don't know, honestly. To me, that's why I'm like, wherever we're going, it's an adventure, and let's go. Let's just go and have fun with whatever it is that we're going to. So your DNA literally moves you through time. That's why it's so important not to eat like titanium dioxide, which is the color white, because that's a mutagen. And the other beings, the Orions, the Draco, the Anunnaki, don't want to leave us because they're dead things. They don't want to leave us, so they will do everything they can to keep us trapped in an artificial time construct. And that's why I'm showing you the real way to move through time is the solstice, the equinox, and the cross quarter days. It's also your own personal chart, how you move through time to keep yourself vital and alive. Now, what I'd like to do just very quickly so people can know how to use this book is I'm going to open to page 800 in chapter 75 about the 12th house. And I'm just going to read to you from page 800. The 12th house, according to what Demetra George was able to gather from both the scrolls from Project Hindsight, but many other important and lesser known astrologers who really had this correct, is this 12th house is hidden. It's the secret place. It's the place of self undoing where we conceal our shame from traumatic experiences such as rape, abuse, and mental instability. That's hard. That's really hard to hear that when you know that you have planets there. And I have Pluto there. So I'm trying to transform many generations of rape, abuse, and mental instability, shame from traumatic events. So that's how you get your chart. And your chart comes from your mother's chart and your grandmother's chart. Believe me, it does, because I have the synastry with all of those charts, including my daughter's, and it all lines up. We're all trying to heal this stuff, but we're being degenerated by crap that the Anunnaki and the Jehovian Anunnaki, want to keep us because they eat us, basically, our loosh. But the 12th house is considered hardships, sadness, enemies, prisons. It's considered the house of evil spirit, envious, imprisonment, deceivers, secret enemies, exile, troubles, witches, captivities, and banishment by private enemies. Now, the 12th house is not so good, all right? It's not an easy house, but it's very important for you to know that house, just like it is for you to know your first house, to know what it is you're trying to purify, where you're trying to get rid of that shame, that nasty stuff that feels imprisoning and so forth. So now I'm just going to go over to my mom's chart. And again, please keep your charts personal to you, because you don't want anyone to use your chart against you. Like, I'm a very public person, so I'm willing to show my family's charts. And for you, you can share your charts in the group that we have on Facebook. If you haven't joined that group, I can send you my Facebook link to my page and I can get you in that group. So if you're in this little room right now, in the Zoom room, you're all welcome to be in that group as well. And I think we've got quite a few people in there, but not everyone can get on every call. So with my mom's 12th house, which her sun is at the Alcyon gate right here. So mom is going to receive Uranus going over her sun. And I'm honestly going to see what effect this has on her. So anybody who has planets at the first degrees, like this is my mom's Jupiter at the first degree of Aquarius, so Pluto is there. Uranus is going to conjoin her sun. Saturn and Neptune are right on her midheaven, which is at 2 degrees Aries. So my mom actually has the theme of Monday, which is why I wanted to use this. Her midheaven and her IC are exactly on the equinox gates. My mom's a very interesting person. What you're seeing of me is the antithesis of my mom. You are supposed to be the antithesis to your parents. So do not try and make your child like you. Please let your child be who they are. My mom really is very freaked out by me. I love her tremendously, but remember, I'm the Sagittarius with my sun at Ophiuchus. She's the gate of man. I'm the gate of the gods. I am literally the exact opposite to my mom, which breaks her heart because we've been socially conditioned that unless you do the same holidays and have the same beliefs and the same like colonized mind of indoctrination, that you are somehow not loved. But as I told you, you are supposed to be the exact opposite. You are supposed to leave your parents. It is a square from your ascendant, according to this situation. You are not supposed to live with your parents. You're supposed to find your own 11th house community and figure out what you need. So my mom has her sun here, her Mercury, her Venus, her part of fortune. Her Juno is right at Polaris, and it's conjunct the asteroid King, and she also has Uranus. So that many planets in a particular sign is called a stellium. So 1, 2, 3, 4 planets, an asteroid, and a calculated point. So my mom is very hidden. None of you have ever met my mom, and you probably never will. She's got the Alcyon gate. If you read page 219 of Voyagers Volume 2, this is the Palladorian birthing agreement. And my grandmother had it too. So my grandmother and my mother both have Juno, the asteroid of a sacred marriage, in the 12th house. Because this is the 12th house, it is a type of imprisonment on both my mother and my grandmother. So they have a very particular genetic, which I've already discussed in my video called haplogroups. It's the Merovingian genetic. So I'm 70% Merovingian. I also have a very rare, an extremely rare mitochondrial DNA, which is called Ursula. So this agreement that my mom has and my grandmother has was bringing through a very particular bloodline. This is a breeding program. We have been inside of a breeding program. So my mother and my grandmother were basically forced to marry certain people. For my mom, it's conjunct the asteroid King. And her name is Esther, which is the Hebrew name for Ishtar or Astarte. And Esther Esther means the star. It's the given name of a priestess who is used to represent the goddess on the occasion of a sacred marriage. So, this is why I would like for you to study your parents' charts. And I know it's not easy because there's a lot of heartfelt, like, ouch with our parents' charts. But in this chart, I can know, like, I've got to be exactly the opposite. My mom, like, I'm her antithesis. So I'll write her the poetry of Cahill Gibran. I'm like, Mom, you did good. I'm supposed to be totally different from you. Like, my mom's so hidden that she said, Lalita, don't do astrology courses. Then everyone will know all your gifts and your abilities. And I'm like, Mom, are you kidding? There's only one me. There's only one Lolita. And all of my students are going to take this wherever they take it, right? They're going to be the type of astrologer or seer or oracle or dream interpreter or psychoanalyst or whatever all you do, friend, whatever you do, um, coach, counselor, whatever you do, artist, musician, you're going to do you. I never feel like if I give away 200 videos of free information that I'm going to somehow lose out. But my mom, because she's got all these planets, she feels imprisoned. She like is always looking for the cheapest. And I'm always like, we get the most expensive and the most fabulous vital food that there is. We go to the farmer's market. We don't go to like Aldi's or whatever these cheap, unbelievable places. But that's because my mom's chart is like this. So the point of studying your chart and your parents' chart is to also free yourself through time. I can't expect my mom to be anything other than what she is. And so I free her by freeing myself of her expectations of me. That's how you freely move through time. You free yourself. You know your mom's chart. And also when I was talking about the shame and why does my mom have this big 12th house? How did I figure this out? It was because, and I think it was 2023, I did my true ancestry, but I also did ancestry.com to help my daughter who has an adoptive father and she was having some health issues. So we found out that mom has an older sister that we did not know about. So my gram also has the Juno there. She was used as a breeder and she brought in a child before my mom. And my mom didn't know about this until she was 74 years old. So my mom was brought through a womb of deep shame and trauma. Um, it's too much for me to even discuss, but we found Aunt Pat. Grandma was in one of the Magdalene laundries and they took her child. So if you don't know about the Magdalene laundries, know that that is where a lot of shame and grief comes from with the breeding program is to shame the mother. It's called an unwed mother's home. All right. It's all part of this package of traumatizing the womb so that when you come in, you have to really work hard to bring your life force and your vitality and then your personal values. Amazingly, the 12th house sextiles with ease and grace your second house. So if you feel ashamed and abused and your mother was raped, you hold that and it sextiles your second house where my mom has Pluto and Saturn. uh, so she can never get her own resources and her own self-worth and her own values. So she lives in that scarcity construct. So this is what I want you to understand about the chart too, is the 12th house, even though it's hidden from the first house, it sextiles the second house. Where if you know what's in your 12th house, you'll also know why you're having difficult with your values and your resources and your scarcity and so forth. All right. So, I mean, I know I'm already getting towards 2 hours with you all, and it's crazy because I have so much to teach you, but I'm hoping you're understanding. Let's go over with Claude's chart, the horoscope, which is the ascendant degree, the hourly watcher who's sitting on the eastern horizon. This is the most important sign and seasonal depiction and planets and energy of whether you live or die is the first house. This is your vitality. This is the gate of Hades. This is also associated with money. This is the goddess. This is under the earth, the IC or the nadir, like under the earth. This is above. This is under. This is the house of good fortune, the fifth house of what you can create and create, like, art and music. This is the house of bad fortune. It doesn't necessarily mean bad things are going to happen to you, but you have to know it is the joy of Mars. So you have to get your daily activities down and your relationships with your pets and your animals. Take a good walk with your dogs or whatever, or ride your horse in order to have good health. So that's the sixth house. This is the house of the setting of the sun. So the sun moves like this through time. Okay. The setting of the sun. This is an angular house that has to do with your relationship with other people or partners. This is the house of, or it's called the place, the idle place. The eighth house is death, letting go. The ninth house is the house of God or metaphysics, higher learning, astrologers, clairvoyance, clairaudience, claircognizance, all the clairs. This is the house of work and vocation. Usually your midheaven is here. Mine is not, so I'm using Claude's chart right now. 11th house is the house of good spirit. How do you create community? How do you grow with friends? What do you need to be with your friends? So I also have asteroid Vesta there. So I often will, I'll go somewhere, I'll go on somebody else's retreat and I'll try to be quiet. Like, I'm like, I don't want anyone to know, who I am. And I'm like all quiet. I did a retreat like that in Hawaii once and I'm like super quiet. And then it comes out. I can't help it that I'm a natural leader because I have Leo there and Vesta. So, that 11th house will be like how people see you in the community, even if you're hiding, even if you don't want them to know what your skills are, they'll figure it out because your 11th house is your public persona. In your 12th house is considered the bad spirit. Now, I know some people have their sun in the 12th house, like my mom does. It doesn't mean you're bad. So what Demetra told me and what, the galactic walk-ins have confirmed is that this is not really karma. This is not karma. What is happening here is certain families have been persecuted, targeted. There's major targeting going on in here that is not karma. Some of the most magical, wonderful people get the worst possible placements because they are literally trying to traumatize and imprison you here because the loosh feed is how the Jehovian Anunnakis, basically the people of the Bible, the Elohim are not good. The Elohai are good. The Elohai are who the indigos are. In Indigo 2 and Indigo 1 is pure Elohai. Those are the beings that are truly the benevolent beings. The Elohim are our rapists. Okay, so we've been put in here, and Demetra George told me this is really not karma. So you have to know, here is a master astrologer who has read probably 40,000 charts, like, because Demetra started back in 1969 when I was born. Okay, and that was the other stuff about Demetra and I. Like, we went to the same college. She went to New Paltz. I went to New Paltz. I was born the year she was graduating as a mathematician from New Paltz, because back in those days, you had to be a mathematician to do astrology because there were no computers. All right. So Demetra was a master mathematician before she did her graduate work in like mythology and all of the archetypes and everything. So you're learning from a lineage. I am very connected to Demetra. Demetra is my master astrologer teacher. So you are now being literally initiated into a lineage of Demetra George and the very ancient astrologers. So this is massive, folks. This is a really big deal. That's why I'm doing it at a particular time with Jupiter and Cancer, with particular alignments. And the way I set it up is because we're passing on something very important. Okay. So you can read this. This is angular, 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 angular. Then it goes angular, succeedent, cadent, angular, succeedent, cadent, angular, succeedent, cadent, angular, succeedent, cadent. I never really got into those words of succeedent and cadent because I will teach it to you in the geometries. Knowing those words just makes you sound like some kind of academic, and I'm not an academic. So I'm going to teach you the angles. Now, what else did I want to show you? And then we're going to open up for questions. The last bit that I'm going to show you, and I'm going to just pop my chart up here. And if you're in the group, you have my chart. Here's my first house, which I told you about. Here's my second house. The only planet I have in the second house is Neptune. So I literally get my values and my self-worth from the planet Neptune. Neptune is like a cosmic antenna. At that Neptune, which many of my planets are at like 29 degrees. So yeah, my ascendant's at 29, my Neptune's at 29, my Pluto's at 27, my Vesta's at 25. I'm very one of those like last degrees. But at my Neptune, which is also at 2959, is Intercosmos, an astro wizard. So if you're trying to figure out how to make money, it's not just from your second house, it's also what are the planets and the asteroids in other places, like your job and your career. Maybe in the ninth house of the metaphysician, my vertex is there, and I have wisdom and Hygeia. And my vertex is my mother's and my daughter's sun degree. So we all have this Alcyon really prominent, because as Voyagers Volume 2 said, the Alcyon spiral and the, what did she call it? The recessive genetics from the Alcyon spiral are the indigo to Palladorian birth agreements. That's why I want you to find this in your chart. Alcyon is like 0 to 4 degrees at the beginning of Gemini. So look at that in your chart and see what asteroids are there and so forth. And then you'll know how to do your chart and keep yourself alive and your vitality, because this particular cycle, we are trying to break free. We are going to free time, and we are going to free ourselves. And as I've told you, I'm part of a secret society that is so secret that I didn't know I was in it, because literally just this week, after studying my mother's, and my grandmother's chart for 15 years now, just this week, I figured out that both my mother and my grandmother had the Palladorian birth agreement. And I was like, well, it would have to go that way because these genetic lines are deeply hidden. They had to be hidden lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. So my mother and my grandmother, they don't know anything about this stuff because they are deeply hidden. So in that way, my mother's 12th house also makes sense. So don't beat your parents up too much. It's not karma that's going on in here. There is a breeding program, and there's also a program of bringing in certain Elohai, not Elohim, to help humanity. And now this is back to our original wheel that we studied of the 12 apostles. So basically, if you put this wheel on this wheel, but you turn it, and that's how I designed this so that you can read the words. You're going to have to play with this. I do it all in my mind. But if you turn it, you'll realize, okay, for instance, that my home house, which is usually Libra in the theme of Monday, becomes my first house. It's crazy because I'm a Libra ascendant. All right. So that's the other way, but I don't want to blow your minds right now because we've been on for 2 hours. So what I'm going to do right now is open it up for questions, my dears. What can I explain better? What comments or questions or things you don't have any idea what the heck are you talking about, Lalita? You can unmute yourself if you want to ask something, anything at all.
About the list of asteroids you had in one of your videos. Is it the same for everyone, or is this list changed day by day?
Yes.
Um,
Good, Amelie.
okay.
Yes. Yes. So with the asteroids, they are moving through time also, and they are making geometries also. Some of them are larger so that they move at a different rate through time. It's literally a spin rate. And some of them are smaller, so they're moving faster through time. So they're not only always moving, but like 149 is a bigger object than like 1198, which is Atlantis. Asteroid Atlantis is 1198. 149 is actually considered a dwarf planet. That's Medusa. So they move differently. When you use the additional objects at astro.com, I want you to do it for your natal chart. What's the natal position of that asteroid? And what's the transiting position? So you press with transits. Now, when you're at astro.com, it's a free site. So you only get 10 asteroids at a time, and then you got to put some new ones in. I use Mark Pottinger, and I know Natalie, who is one of my private students, she managed to get the discs from Mark Pottinger. Mark Pottinger is a private person that you have to request the asteroid discs. And then the asteroid discs, I have them on a different laptop so that, I mean, I can be doing a Zoom call on this laptop and I can open a different laptop because it still has the disc insert, one of those really old laptops that they don't even make anymore. But in the group, I'll have to put Mark Pottinger's contact information. So if you want to contact him, he might be able to send you a program because they're all moving. So when we do like the transiting asteroid of Atlantis, it's going to be in a different location than in where it was in my natal chart. It's also going to be in a different location in your chart, Amelie, to where it is in my chart. When I ran it in Claude's chart, Claude has Vesta conjunct Atlantis in Taurus in his ninth house, whereas I have Vesta conjunct Atlantis in my 11th house. And what that tells me, so what does that tell you? Like Claude had it in Taurus, but he was born in 1969. I was born in December of 1969. So by the time between Claude being born and my birth, it moved to Leo. So they are moving through time, but also what does that mean? Claude's Vesta in Atlantis is in the ninth house. He probably was like an oracle of some way. I mean, you know that he has a huge eighth house, so he's a necromancer, and death and things about deceased people really affect him. Whereas I have Vesta in Atlantis in the 11th house, I was clearly some kind of a high priestess type in Atlantis, probably, you know how you talked about the breeding program that happened where they took the highest DNA codes up onto Nibiru and they made them into the lady of the embryos. That's my memory. That is a very hard memory for me. But that would also be why my IC is in the fifth house of creating children. I mean, it's unbelievable. Not only is this your personal this time round, this is all your lifetimes trying to show up. So when you go back to my mom's chart, she has that special DNA code. Like I got it from my mother and my father. My father's more Bavarian and French. That's where I got that lineage from him. I have the Christ lineage. I mean, if y'all haven't figured that out by now, I have Yeshua and Christ conjunct my ascendant. So that's That's why I have a Paladorian birth agreement. But my mom, she's from Ireland. So my mom and my gram, uh, O'Gary, Dorothy O'Gary, are from Ireland. So Esther is a Jewish name, but my mom's south node here in the fourth house is conjunct Ireland. And that is on her south node because that's her lineage. If y'all don't know about the Irish connection to the Christ, there's books about that one. But here she has at her Neptune, she has the asteroid Richard, which was my father's name, but that might be transiting somewhere else in her chart right now because yes, she lived with my father Richard. And then the other piece of that is that will connect my Libra ascendant. That Neptune's going to connect to my Uranus. All right. So you have to do the synastry with your parents and their asteroids and your grandparents and your children. And the locations are incredible. I had someone, so Amelie, use the locations too. Like, when you're in France, you can use the locations in France. But I had someone last week that had asteroids that I couldn't even pronounce. And then when I said them, she's like, oh, yes, that's where the family castle was. Like my ancestors, my great great grandparents were nobility from that castle, that particular place. So this is literally the asteroids are your movement through time and they incorporate your past life. So Ireland on the south node, I'm telling you, my people are Irish and French Bavarian, but it's the R1b group of the Merovingian. R1b is also considered Atlantean. So mom has Atlantis in her first house, but where is Atlantis now? It's going to be somewhere else, right? So Claude has Atlantis in Taurus. I have Atlantis in Leo. Mom has Atlantis in Cancer. All of that is asteroid 1198. Is that good, Amelie? Did you follow me on that one?
Yeah, yes, thank you very much.
Okay.
Very clear.
Other questions? All right. I'm quick, folks. I got a fire trine.
Okay, I'm just the fourth house in Gemini. If it's the same that the IC, what does it mean?
So I mean it's the whole package, but if Gemini is in the fourth house as the seasonal depiction Gemini, the IC is floating somewhere, and Gemini does very much have to do with duality templates. You can also use your Sabian symbols there. I think the Gypsy Sabian symbol is in Gemini. The Sabian symbols are something that Dane Rudhyar came up with. All 360 degrees around the whole wheel has like a tarot card reading. And I know that the Gemini fourth house, Gemini gypsy people, they tend to be travelers or wanderers like a butterfly. If you've got your IC in Gemini, you're probably nomadic. You probably go here and you go there and you look for the best friends and the best weather and you do the best things that life have to offer you because Gemini is the opposite to Sagittarius. Sagittarius is like the pilgrim who's looking for the truth, where Gemini is the social butterfly and she can go to the beach and then she can go to the mountains and then she can go live on an island and then she can live on a houseboat. So that's Gemini IC in the fourth house, Amelie.
In the tribe of Israel, Levi was the only tribe with no place. They always have to travel to teach the other tribes. And Levi is an asteroid, is in my 12th house. I have to let go.
Oh, Amelie, that's so interesting. Yes, I've worked with you quite a bit. Also, so your family name, okay, so Levi and the 12 tribes and the condition of the 12 tribes, and when your particular root race was seeded into Gaia, all of that's in Voyagers Volume 2. And I know Voyagers Volume 2 is like $1,000 or something, but you can get the PDF. There's free PDFs for Voyagers Volume 2, and you can find out what tribe you were from and what condition that tribe was in. Like the tribes from the Caucasus Mountains are totally different than the Levites. So that's all in there too. And you should do your locations and you should know your ancestry. If you don't want to, give some spit in a cup, but I guarantee you they have all our DNA. I'm telling you, and Aurora has said the same thing. Everyone's DNA is known. So don't be afraid to spit in a cup if you want to figure out your true ancestry. All right, other questions? Hearts?
Hi, Lolita. First, I just want to say it's all very clear the way you're going through the houses. I think it's just so much material. I'm like, do I have a question? It's more just taking it in. But maybe if I do have one thing for right now that you were talking about that was really important is all the way back in the first house, how important it is to look to the first house for how to care for ourselves now. Could you just you could, I guess mine is Gemini in the first house, like as an example.
Yeah,
How,
that's
yeah.
that's how we should do it, Joya. So, I know it'll take a while for people to really get their language. It's hard to even ask a question, but this is exactly how we must learn together. So for Amelie, she has the fourth house Gemini. So I'm saying to her, you're going to be fairly nomadic. You might not have like one home place. For a Gemini ascendant, this is that same kind of energy, and you are so that, Joya. I'm trying to be careful not to reveal people's private details, but being curious and moving around and traveling, like going there and taking walks and taking the most beautiful things from the beach or the most beautiful things from the mountains. The Gemini energy is very curious and it needs to move around a lot. So Gemini is not a stagnant energy, it's an air sign, right? It's an air sign. So if we go back to this one, Gemini is air mutable, air mutable, meaning that it needs to talk to many different people in many different locations. So you go to an art class, you go to the beach, you go to a dinner, and right now, I got to tell you, because of the pathogens, like Claude and I went to the farmer's market this morning, and we want to see everybody. You want to go to the farmer's market, right? They got musicians, they got good art, they got nice organic bread, um, local eggs, so you want to, that's Gemini. If your first house is that, you want to go, you want to be social and go to the market, you go to a craft fair. You want to talk to people, you want to get new information. That's Gemini. So, with the pathogen and the stuff that's going on with the Seratic transhumanist spirits right now, you want to do that without getting cooties on you. So, gosh, it's terrible. I have to talk about this, but so what you do is you do an online class, exactly what you're doing right now, Joya. That's Gemini.
Okay, that really feels like it. I feel like, oh, all these beautiful people are here with you. We're learning, we're writing our notes, like, and trying to keep up with it all. And it feels very connected and community. So that's really supporting. So for any first house, for anyone in this class, they need to look to that sign to support their health at this time. Okay, and it's so different for all of us, obviously, but thank you for explaining the Gemini part of it for me. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you for that question, Joya, because as a Libra, you're the mutable Gemini. Libra is the cardinal, like I can get the conversation going. I'm the cardinal air. But you, Joya, and the way that you and I work so well together is you're the mutable air, where you can ask me a question and then I'm like, oh, I'm the cardinal air. I'll begin the conversation. And then you make it more interesting. Like the Geminis always have excellent questions. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I'm I'm just trying to keep up with you, Lalita. So yes, I can understand that. Like, and what if someone, let's say someone's in Aquarius first house? Do you mind me asking that?
Yeah, I had Aquarius ascendants. I had two different, actually, both of them were on the same day. I had these two Aquarius ascendants at the same time. So Aquarius, if you remember, Aquarius is the fixed air. So the Libra is the cardinal, the beginning of the air. Aquarius is the fixed air. So these are the philosophers that will keep the philosophy going, that is trying to decolonize, like create new ingenious expression that is a better philosophy, and a more responsible philosophy than what we've had, because it's the fixed air. So Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, whereas Libra is ruled by Venus. So these people fix time. They're trying to create a, like Socrates, like question and answer, higher level. Think of Aquarius as like Socrates. They're trying to fix it. Oh, you know, I'm going to say this. Jason from Soul on Ice. Hi, Jason. Hi, Jason. Jason often uses my videos because I'm a Libra ascendant, where I'll get a topic going, like the matriarchy. Like I did 13 videos on the matriarchy. And then Jason, I'm sorry, Jason, but you're a public person, so I'm going to talk about your ascendant. Jason from Soul on Ice, he will also make videos on matriarchy, okay? Because the cardinal Libra person got it going, and the Aquarius ascendant then starts to create a philosophy around that. It furthers the fixity of what the cardinal energy did. And then the Gemini, like your position, Joya, is you'll have questions and interests, and you'll almost like advertise, you know, what this one and this one, and you'll talk about it with other people and go, well, should we talk about the matriarchy? What would society look like if mothers and wombs and creation was really seen in that way? And maybe you'll make an art piece about it and express yourself that way, because the mutable takes this, and then they start to raise consciousness by having curious conversations with people about those topics.
Wow. Thank you so much for saying that. And like including where I am in the puzzle. You know, in this, I love that. I think through this class, we will all, like Lauren, and I mean, like what we will all find our beautiful connections. And using Jason's work as an example, he makes those beautiful videos. They're just so visually beautiful. And then they have beautiful music, and his voice. Oh my gosh, he could read the dictionary and it would be amazing to listen to. So I see how, yes, like taking these concepts that you're creating, that's so beautiful, like this community. I just got chills thinking about how you put that out. You're initiating as the cardinal. He's transmuting it into another thing as the Aquarius ascendant. Yeah, he is like wait, what philosopher did you say?
Well, Socrates.
He's like Socrates. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. That's so helpful.
Yeah. And then the Geminis need to share it and spread it. Like they need to get people to take this and put it into what would otherwise be unconscious. Because remember, the Gemini is the 12th house in the theme of Monday. So people might have missed it. So Alex, you're coming back in? Must have jumped off. Okay. So Yeah, so your role is to take it from my hidden home life of where I live it in my physical property, and then Jason is like Socrates, expressing it and making it more real visually and artistically, like he's a great philosopher. And then the role of the Gemini is to share it and spread it and talk about it and make people curious. And like, have you studied that? Have you seen that channel? That's a really good channel.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful. Thanks, Lalita.
Of course, love. Any other questions? Oh, wait, somebody's got in the any other, you can put something in the comments too if you don't want it or you don't know how to unmute yourself. Alex? Anybody else? Okay.
Hi,
Is
Lalita.
oh yes. Is it Katie?
Yes, Katie. Hi.
Go ahead.
So my question is like I'm noticing like I have my 6th house is Capricorn and my 12th house is Cancer. And lately I've been thinking about that a lot, especially with what's going on with just like the astrology and how like to connect like the mother and father or like the masculine and feminine. And then I'm looking at like how I've written my chart out. I think this is like one of the first charts I did with you. And it's like I have my Leo in my 1st house, and then it's connected to my vertex, which is in the 9th house, Aries, which is the metaphysics. So I'm just like noticing how like my presentation and my vocation, that's in Taurus though. So I'm just like, it's all kind of like there's lines connecting that's like making like a trine. So I'm just noticing it, and it's just like I'm just processing all the things that you're saying, and it's making sense because like with the vertex and Aries being the head and it's vertex and it's like metaphysics like the underworld, and then we have Capricorn in the 6th house, which is like healing and pets and slavery, and like I deal with animals a lot, and then Cancer with women, and then like just not being valued for our literal labor, and then you talking about labor and like how we, you know, we need to be human, and being human, it's like not, that's not valued here because it's like monetary and then the time and then all that. So that was just a little ramble, but I guess what I'm asking the question is like, can you explain what that might mean with like the different home, different like how they're like connecting that and being able to present it basically.
Yeah. So Katie, I think we should start with Cancer being your 12th house. So that makes Leo your 1st house. So Cancer in the 12th house and your deep psychic awareness of women and motherhood and whether it's valued or not, like what you're trying to do because you have Cancer in the 12th house is you're trying to get the mother energy out from under that rape and shame place, hon. Remember when I just read from Demetra George's book on page 800 that the 8th house is that like where we have been abused, we have been mentally like gaslighted, all of that kind of stuff. So for you, Cancer being the mother energy in the 12th house is like you're trying to get women up out of like being murdered and raped and devalued. I mean, it's so obvious to me. It's unbelievable, you see? And that's where your energy comes from, your mom's womb. Look at it that way. That's your mom's womb, hon. And I don't mean to like be particular about your mom, but your mom's womb was like, are women really valued? Or should they stay hidden behind the scenes and shut up? You know, and their way is not the right way. So that becomes your 12th house. Just like for me, the 12th house is something that is deeply hidden that needs to be perfected from my mom's womb. So the 12th house is that. So you brought in that material and you're trying to make it conscious for everybody. Like, what's happening to women here, people? Do you get
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I totally, and I've been like, that's all, like, I've been making TikToks and trying to like finally get my voice out, if only just like for me to finally say it to, you know, other people, because you know I've been saying it to my parents, but like, you know, or you know, people that come into my life, but that doesn't really count. You know, you kind of have to just get it out for everyone, because, and I think it's a thing for a lot of women now, realizing how much their time isn't valued or respected here, and just we need to like be able to not be petty with women too. So I'm also trying to figure that one out, because I think it's like part of what keeps the system going is women not being able to be able to address their abuse, because they don't even recognize it, because they're so far into the indoctrination of it. A lot of times they'll be like, oh, this is my like my sacrifice or servitude or whatever, and it's like my duty, but it's like it's still labor, and it's still value, right? And obviously like it needs to be done, but like we need to be living in spaces where there's reciprocity, right? And forgiving, right? We're here to give what we're here to give, and others can receive and give based on their gifts. But if you live in a world that's like based in scarcity, which is that box, right? You know, we're stuck in that time, right? And then even like the time and the money and all the numbers, it's like an error game when you look at it, because it's like look at how much money a billion, like in my opinion, they're like a representation, a puppet of what like the average person would do with their money, right? So that's just
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're so on exactly what your chart is about, Katie. And I hope like when we do the retreat, if people come to the retreat and you've been in this class, you'll be able to meet each other and know that that is like why that you have that particular gift. And that's why you make those type of videos. And there's so many other things in your chart, like we won't get into that right now, but like you'll see, folks, it's a recipe. So if Katie has Cancer in the 12th house, and I've talked about Katie's chart because we've done videos before. What's in her 4th house? What are the asteroids in the 4th house? What is it she's trying to transform? You know, like it's all there.
yeah. And my 4th house, you can share my, if you want to use any examples, that's totally cool. Because I'm learning too. But the 4th house, my 4th house is in Scorpio, and I have Pluto in Scorpio, right? And that's like a big deal for a lot of people in my generation, millennial women, and that's bringing out that dark side of like how women have been like, I mean, to be completely honest, my whole entire generation was MK Ultra with like all the sex kitten programming. So you know, it's like, and then just like all that stuff, you know, just coming out of like, you know, realizing your true value isn't in putting on a performance for the male.
Yeah, yeah. Just there. So Katie just told you her 4th house, so I'm not even going to explain it. But see how she's putting it together. She's understanding that 4th house and her role, and there's asteroids there too. So, well, we're going to finish up now. I'm getting low on battery. Here's last call. Any other questions or comments? All right, darlings. It was fabulous. I'll see you all next week. I'm going to end this for now. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you also. Thank you.